6 months later.
So we've completed this series of videos and I will move on to a brand new series starting from next week.
Starting from next week, huh? Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video. Now, I did say in the last video that I will be uploading a brand new series following the upload of the last video, but it's been over 6 months now and there's been no activity on my YouTube channel. So what's been going on? Well, I've been doing this. And I've also been doing this.
Whoa!
So yeah, I've been spending a good portion of my time during the summer, spending time outdoor climbing and just enjoying life instead of just creating content continuously. And that's the excuse I'm going to use. And yeah, I'm back now and we're going to start a brand new series like I said at the start. So in this next couple of videos, I'm going to be focusing our attention on those of you that are gamers and those of you that spend most of your time sat at a desk, whether that's at work or at home. So we're going to be focusing on releasing the tension around the shoulders, in the forearms, in the biceps, and also in the fingers as well. And if there's anything that you want me to cover in particular, please drop that down below in the comment section. Right, with that out of the way, let's get into the first stretch. Oh, before we get into the stretches, I completely forgot to mention what we're covering in this particular video. So yeah, in this session, we're going over a couple of exercises that will help you to open up the shoulders and mainly thoracic extension. So trying to help us go from that rounded kyphotic posture to opening up the back and opening up all the muscles around the chest and the breastbone. So let's get into stretch number 1. All right, so for stretch number 1, we're gonna start off nice and easy. All I want you to do is grab yourself a bolster, a foam roller, or even a yoga block. Just make sure your yoga block is one of those soft foamy ones instead of those hard solid ones that you get. So what I want you to do is place that on the ground. Make sure that you're nice and comfortable on the surface that you're sat on. If need be, roll out a yoga mat. We want to be working on thoracic extension, so we want to position the object that we're using. In my case, I'm using a bolster between our shoulder blades or just slightly below. Okay, so from here, we're going to place our hands behind our head. We're going to bend our knees and then we're going to slowly lower ourselves down. We're going to support the weight on our hands so that we're not straining our neck muscles as we're going down. And then once you go down a couple of degrees, I want you to lift your hips up. That way we can gently place the head down on the ground first and then lower the hips to allow ourselves to relax and go deeper into the stretch. From here, we can tweak the position depending on how intense we want the stretch to be. So if you place your hands over your head, that will generally make the stretch a little more intense. From here, we can also place our hands out to the side in line with our shoulders, or to make it the more comfortable position, we can also place our hands next to our hips. Also, when you're in position, think about the positioning of your feet. So if you straighten the legs, this will also make the stretch a bit more comfortable. For those of you that are quite tight in the thoracic back, you'll notice that your hips will struggle to get down towards the ground. So what I want you to do is grab yourself another yoga block or a couple of books, and you're gonna place that beneath the bottom, and you're gonna bring your bottom down so that it's resting on that object. This will just make the stretch a little easier to get deeper into. I want you to hold this stretch for anything between 90 to 120 seconds, and to help you go deeper and relax more, take deep breaths in and deep breaths out. When you're taking the exhale, what I want you to do is relax the belly as much as possible. So we're softening that belly and we're trying to ease ourselves into the stretch. We can also work on flexion in the thoracic spine. So what I want you to do is just try and bring your head down towards your chin and just hold that position for a couple of seconds. If you also bring your elbows a little closer together, that will also make the stretch a little deeper. From this position here, we can also isolate one side of the upper traps. So by twisting our head towards one side, this will give a stretch to the opposite side of the upper traps. Hold that for a couple of seconds and then do the same thing on the opposite side. And then we're gonna just work our way down the spine so you can shift the positioning of the object that you're lying back on. So I'm gonna move my bolster a couple of inches down, and that will give you a completely different sensation as you move the location of the stretch in the spine. Okay, so for stretch number 2, we're gonna go into the Thoracic Cobra or the Sphinx pose. So for this one, we're gonna lie ourselves down on our belly. You're gonna reach your hands forward as far as possible. This should give you a nice stretch in the lats and also in the shoulders. And then from this position here, we're gonna start to slide our elbows and our forearms back. At the same time, we're gonna lift our chest off the ground ever so slightly. By doing this, you're gonna start to feel a stretch starting in the cervical and moving down towards the thoracic spine. So in this stretch, we're gonna go a little deeper into the thoracic extension. So what I want you to do is press your forearms, your palms, and your elbows down into the ground. And then you're gonna think about pulling the shoulder blades down the spine. So we're performing depression of the scapula or the shoulder blades. As you're doing this, you're gonna tip the head up, and that will give you a really nice stretch right across the thoracic spine. You're gonna also feel this in the upper traps as well, but the main focus is that thoracic spine. And then you're gonna see if you can go a little deeper by moving the target or the positioning of your eyes to look a little further back. From here, we're gonna go a little deeper. We're gonna pull those elbows back a bit more, and we're gonna go upright with our chest a bit more as well. And it's the same protocol. You press the forearms, you press the elbows, and you press the palms into the ground whilst lifting the chest up, and then finally pulling your neck back as much as possible into extension. Also, again, think about pulling those shoulder blades together and down, so we're going into depression. Hold that for a couple of seconds, and then we're gonna do the same thing one more time, and this will be our deepest part of the Thoracic Cobra. So in this final position, our shoulders should be lined up with our elbows, our chest should be a little higher up, and you'll see by the way the final position of this stretch looks very similar to the Egyptian Sphinx. So for this final pose, again, we're gonna try and hold this stretch for anything between 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Finally, what I want you to do is reverse the entire movement. So we're gonna slide our palms and our elbows forward. We're gonna bring our chest towards the ground, and you're gonna continue walking the fingers forward, so then we're getting a really nice stretch across the spine and in the shoulders. As a bonus, you can also tuck your tail, and that will help with assisting in flattening the back and concentrate the stretch around the shoulder blades and the lats. Oh, and you can also perform this stretch assisted using a bolster, a foam roller, or a couple of pillows if you're finding that the normal Thoracic Cobra is too intense. All right, so stretch number 3 is a seated spinal flexion stretch. So now that we've done a couple of stretches that focus on thoracic extension, we now want to turn towards spinal flexions. And then that way we're taking away any of the stress that the extension exercises have caused in any of the muscles in our back. So for this stretch, all I want you to do is sit down on the ground, place your feet in front of you. We're gonna bend the knees, and we're gonna stay on our heels when we're doing this movement. Next, we're gonna bring our arms below our knees, and we're just gonna cross our arms and hold on to the opposite wrist. Now, I feel like this is probably the most comfortable position and will help you to go deeper into the stretch. So try and hold on to the wrist and not the forearm. From this position here, we're gonna pull our chest away from our knees by rounding our back as much as possible. So think about scapular protraction. As we're rounding, you're also thinking about slumping your lower back closer to the ground. As you're doing this, you're gonna feel a really nice stretch right across the muscles in our spine, especially in the lower back and also in between our shoulder blades. You're gonna continue to walk your heels back and slump your back down towards the ground. So think about pulling your chest away even more. And as you're doing this, think about tucking your chin as well. This will also bring a stretch in the upper traps. So you're gonna hold this stretch for anything between 60 to 90 seconds. In this position, we can also perform a small contraction. So think about pulling your shoulder blades away from your knees. Hold this for 5 seconds, relax, take a deep breath in, and then as you're exhaling, think about slumping your lower back closer to the ground. So you're going deeper into the stretch. And then we're gonna think about isolating the stretch by lifting one of our heels up, and we're gonna place that heel down slightly in front of the other foot, so our feet are staggered. You're gonna hold this for anything between 30 to 60 seconds, and then we're gonna swap feet. Once you've done that, you're gonna bring both feet back into the center, and then finally, to get out of position, we're gonna reverse the entire movement, and you're gonna think about bringing your chest towards your knees. Take the hands away from below your knees, place them on the side, And then you're gonna think about lengthening through the spine and opening up your chest. You should feel a really nice stretch right across the spine and in the shoulders as well. And finally, stretch number 4 is a gripping lunge. Now, for this stretch, you're gonna need access to a barbell or something that you can grab onto behind you. If you don't have a barbell, you can also use a resistant band as well. What I'll do is at the end of this stretch, I'll show you the variation with the resistant band. So to get into position, you're gonna get into a lunge position as close to the wall as possible, grab the bar behind you, and we wanna grip it using a supinated grip, so then the palm is facing the opposite side of the room and the knuckles are facing the wall. From here, you're gonna position yourself so you're not too close to the wall, and then you just wanna get into a lunge, so you're pushing the hips forward as you are sinking your shoulders down. Now, ideally, you want the height of the bar to match the height of your shoulders, but that will largely depend on your flexibility. So if you feel like you're quite tight, feel free to also lower the height of the bar or the resistant band that you're using. We also want to arch our back in position, so think about lifting your chest up towards the ceiling. And then finally, you can also rock the head back into extension if you want to go deeper into the stretch. And to really maximize the benefit of this stretch, I want you to pull your shoulder blades down towards the ground. So think about rolling your shoulders back and pull the scapulars down towards the ground into depression. Some of you might also benefit with pinching your shoulder blades together as well. You're gonna hold this stretch for anything between 60 to 90 seconds, and then we're gonna go into our contraction. So for our contraction, you're gonna think about pulling your chest away from the bar behind you. You're gonna hold this for 5 seconds, relax, take a deep breath in, and then as you're exhaling, think about pushing the hips forward deeper into your lunge. And then also think about going more into extension of the spine. So this should help you go a lot deeper into the stretch. By doing this, you should feel a really nice stretch across the muscles around your breastbone, your pecs, and also in your shoulders as well. We can also change the location of the stretch by making minor tweaks towards the positioning of our wrists. So by going into flexion of the wrists, you'll feel the stretch more in the biceps and in the outer part of your forearms. And going into extension of the wrist, you'll feel the stretch in the biceps and also in the inner part of your forearms. So just by tweaking the positioning of our wrists, we can completely change the location of the stretch. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the stretch, you can also perform the same stretch using a resistant band. Now, the biggest difference between the band and using the bar is that the band will give you more customization on the stretch. So depending on how good your shoulder extension is, I feel like the band will give you a better stretch compared to the bar. All right, so that's pretty much it for these stretches. Now, these are the 4 stretches that I will be doing in order to help me improve on shoulder extension and pulling the scapula back down into its neutral position. If you do this 2 or 3 times a week, you'll definitely see some progress towards helping you out with any sort of shoulder problems that you're having. Now, if you've got any questions, feel free to chuck them down below in the comments. And as usual, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so then you're staying up to date with all of the videos that are coming out. I really do want to hear your feedback, so please definitely do drop the comments down below in the comment section. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover and anything that you're finding difficult in any of the stretches that I have displayed in this video and also in any of the previous videos as well. Right, we're pretty much done. I'll see you in the next video.